I wonder if there are any questions for any of our speakers this afternoon. There's a lady in the middle there.
I wanted to ask our first speaker from the Netherlands. You mentioned creating something you called an EVR, which was a change in cost over change in value. And I was wondering, what do you mean by value in the denominator? What are the units and how do you measure it?
That's really the difficult part of it. At this point, the cost itself, well, we are creating databases for it, so per material you can know what the eco costs are for some power material in such quantity. But the value is the value of the building, but then it's hard to find. The least I can say is that if you take the eco cost for the life cycle, the value for the life cycle should also take into account. But then it's partly equal cost value ratio is not only meant for buildings. For other products it's maybe more easier, but for the building it's quite complex to get the right value for the building in a lifetime.
My name's John Dunn from Australia. A question to Brenda. You had a slide that had the criteria for the decision making of purchases of luxury apartments. Mm-hmm. Were those criteria in order? I presume they weren't. They were like view, location, amenity, sustainability. If they weren't in order, in your experience with high-priced luxury apartments, is there, or what would be the most important three criteria that purchasers actually look for?
They weren't in order, but I will say that view is probably one of the top three for sure. I find that interior finishes are just really key. Because let's face it, compared to common areas, you spend 99.9% of your time inside the home. You might use the pool, you might use the workout facility, but you're definitely in your home living life. But I also would say that the convenience factor is certainly one of the main reasons that people choose high-rise living. Their life is very fast-paced, and they're just looking for this ease of lifestyle. So being able to drop off the dry cleaning downstairs, being able to just turn the key and travel and not worry about whether the lawn is taken care of or any of the items that are associated with living in a single-family home. I would say those are pretty much the top three.
Hello, this is Steve Ha. I'm an architect, and I noticed that there's so many development happening in Dubai, and many other places. Sometimes in Las Vegas also. I'm just wondering do we have enough and a good feasibility consultant or feasibility team who can actually predict, this is the demand and all those things, and who is actually those people? Thanks.
I presume that question addressed to you?
Pardon me?
Who is that question addressed to?
Or any one of them? Maybe the second speakers, maybe?
Would you please just repeat the question, just briefly? And
the question is that there's lots of the development is happening, and before you actually start, you have to know that at least to predict there is a potential successful buyer there, and then do we have enough the good feasibility consultant around, and who is that person, that consultant that you are using?
If I understand your question correctly, you said is there some agency or some organization that recommend whether it's feasible or not? Is that well? Obviously, if you talk about the case of Dubai, maybe some of you know or not that it was planned Dubai 40 years ago. Not the master plan of the existing of what we see in Dubai was done in 1972. So there was a potential, and they did, they do know that they're going to be a growing business and such a demand. As an example, the tallest building in the world now, which is being built, almost 40%. They said it's already sold. So it's even before it's constructed. I understand that Dubai, they are working very hard on this, and there are several agencies that do record that, and they obviously shows that there is high potential and high profitability and feasibility for all the projects. Talking about 300 towers going to be built in Dubai within the next 5 years. Still the demand is growing. So rather than predicting the future, what Dubai is doing now is they are, let's say, making the future. So the best way to predict the future is to make it. So they are making business, they are making, opportunities for others to do our business here.
I don't know, I can't recall who it was who said, build it and they will come, but I sort of sense that here there is a little bit of that, the expectation if it goes up that people will buy it. I don't know if there are any...
May I add something to that?
Yes, of course.
I think what you're asking for is called a marketing study.
Yeah.
And there certainly are a number of different companies that do extensive marketing studies. And they will be able to it's a crystal ball, mind you, but they're able to sort of predict with the population growth and, other factors, they're sort of able to predict the absorption rate. And so I think that's maybe what you were referring to as a marketing study.
Of course, I think I'm from the UK, and at the moment there are a number of tall, iconic building projects in planning and approved for construction that are on hold, partly because of the credit crunch, partly because there's an expectation that there is too much. So even studies that showed at the time these projects were put into planning that they were the thing to do, things change. Let's move on, obviously. Are there any more questions?
I've got a question for Brenda. As an acoustic engineer, I'd like to know what your perceptions are of the market's response to noise. Is it something they're sensitised to?
What was the last statement? Is it?
Noise. Is the market sensitised? Do they come and ask questions specifically and they're very clear on what they want?
Yes. I have had, in the past, buyers who have asked for another layer of sheetrock in specific areas where the demising wall was butting up, maybe the bedroom to bedroom, something like that, or bathroom to bathroom. Absolutely, they're sensitive to that, and they want to know and understand what the construction is, and the sales agent better be able to tell them. So it is a very important factor.
So how much liaison do you have with the acoustic engineer? If I'm lucky, I'm involved in the early stages, and I'm able to interact with them. But it just depends upon the kind of the scheme, whether the developer allows that. Sometimes you don't have a choice at all. The sales team is hired after everything is completed, which is kind of the whole premise of my speech, is that it really needs to happen, the interaction needs to happen prior to the design.
Was there a gentleman there with the plaid tie?
I have a question. My name is Ray Carver, consulting engineers in Dubai. I have a question about value engineering. Do you have any idea about the percentages of the projects they are required and asking for value engineering?
is there a percentage of how many been done? Or
They are asking, the past, I didn't see not too much projects, value engineering projects.
Well, we work on a low profile, so we don't announce lots of our work. And anyway, so but it's mandatory in Saudi Arabia now. Any project that is more than 20 million or $5 million, we have to do VE. So it is now available in all the design contract. There is a clause for value engineering. Even if you know that MR, they have a clause in their contract, in their design contract, requiring the application of value engineering. I would say, and percentage-wise, to close to maybe 80% of the construction industry, they do require the application of value engineering in their design, yes. And we're going to do maybe the next year close to 400 value engineering studies. Now for 400 projects. Of course, we try to make it, apply value engineering on large-scale projects, because the effort of studying a 10 million project or a 500 million is almost the same. It isn't. So we do concentrate on high-scale projects. Okay.
I'm going to bring it to a close then, because I think the intention is that the closing session will be in this room. So I should like very much to thank this afternoon's speakers for their very interesting presentations, and I hope that you'll join me in the usual way in thanking them.